Hi, this is Dan Henk, and welcome to another edition of the Skull Session. And today, my guest is Liocifer. He's like one of the famous old school tattoo guys. Like I think I first saw your work at Fat Cat in Queens, right?
Yeah, that's 99.
Yeah, well, I'm fucking old dudes, but I remember I saw you work at like Fat Cat in Queens. You were like and I remember people were like, "Oh, this is like the Paul Booth in Queens," like that's how people refer to you. So that I look at your work, and I like the way that your work looked. And
Thank you.
I remember when you left, Kevin Q kind of had he had problems with that shop.
It probably was later on, actually, not when I left. I think they
Oh,
kept strong
okay,
years and then they went out. Because I went back there when we left Paul in 2007.
okay.
Uh, yeah, and then I think they started having problems a little later on. Again, I'm old like you, so I don't really remember at this point because we've been to a million of them.
Well,
Huge
I
complex.
remember somebody broke into his shop and they stole all his machines. He's like missing 21 machines. And I was
Yes.
working at like some shop in the city, and like this kid, like he must have been like 19, obviously not tattoo arts, comes in with a case of machines, opens it up, and is like wants to see if I want to buy any. And I look at him and I'm like, hey, I know whose machines these are. And I was like, where'd you get those? You
You
know,
see, old people like us would like to complain how a lot of things change. Here's something you would like to thank eBay for because kids go on eBay and buy their shitty machines now.
well,
They don't make
it,
it to our place to get the machines because we didn't sell it to anybody, right?
well, in this
Uh,
case, he stole them from Kevin. So I remember they open it, like the guy opens it up and I'm like, I knew these are. I'm like, where did
yeah,
these? And I don't remember what he. I mean, it's been years. I don't remember what he told me or what he said, but it's some fucking excuse, right? I was like,
it's old
I was like,
school. Old
these
school
are
people,
all fucking stolen. I'm like, where'd you get these
yeah,
from? And there's like,
but
oh
old
well, I got them from this guy. I was like, all right, you lose the machines. Get the fuck
again,
out here.
you put it in context. So for all the kids watching your podcast or the young people, since I'm a million years old, um, remind people that back then, dude, just like we knew the 20, 30 famous tattoo artists worldwide, name by name, because 30 names are not that hard to catch. We knew the machines. And everyone that had a machine was a special machine. It was signed to them. It was like something. I don't use it anymore, even though I still use coils. I still have my Excalibur. That's like a Mickey Sharp's first run of T-Dolls from 95. Dude, you can't
Well, I
steal that.
remember Kevin describing his machines too. So I was like,
Yeah,
these are
yeah.
definitely fucking Kevin's.
It was dedicated. He had numbers on it. That was like, my brother used to have a Harley in Israel when they only had 100. So if you stole one, it got returned to you really quick because there's 100. Same shit used to be with our machines. You fuck with one of those guys, it's like, dude, there wasn't that many tattoo shops, or who else are you gonna sell it to? Your homeboys at home? That ain't gonna happen. That's not worth the whole big crime you just did.
Well,
Um,
I figured he's kind of lucky he didn't get beat up. I mean, there's obviously a kid who bought it from somebody else. So I was like, I'll
yeah,
let it go. You just fucking lose your machines.
yeah, there used to be other ways to handle that too, but Kevin was one of those people that thrived on not being connected. We did what we did. We never wanted that connection, but if somebody stole our machines, there we had friends to reclaim them. When our friend came to your shop, dude, you gave us the machine and money and an apology back because that was the least you could do if you didn't want your arms broken for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe your hands weren't smashed, with the hammer.
Now, right? Like I told you, after 47 years and people tell me write a book, I was like, fuck it, I'll write a book. Now, I'm not sure I'll publish it, but it's cathartic to go through the shit with reminders of, dude, what it used to be, like growing up in a satanic scare, eras that people don't put together of the meaning of some stuff. Tattooing, dude, for fuck's sake. I started apprenticing at 16 in Israel. I started tattooing at 18. That was like 95, 93. And in Israel, New York was illegal to what, 98, 99.
97.
people really have no idea what we're talking about here. It's easier said than done for a kid that wants to be a gangster. Go talk to real gangsters, dude. It's not that easy and cut and dry. You
Oh,
know,
it was way different. I mean, I sound old when I say it, but like when I moved to the city, what's going on now was not going on then. Like I lived
nah.
in Williamsburg when they found the dead bodies under the bridge. Now there's like a Whole Foods there.
Did I try to move to again? I moved from Israel in '97 to Miami for a year and a half. Then I moved to New York in late '99. Me and my cousin tried to get an apartment in Williamsburg. Every place we went to had four murals of kids on that building. Like, you know what that means, right? Like, this is not a good place. And it was already starting to become bougie for some reason. But I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
when was that? Like, you said 99 or 2000?
I'm a skinny kid from Israel. I
Right.
wasn't that my tattoos and shit, but I wasn't going to go in the middle of fucking Harlem and open a shop. So
Right.
it was reminiscing. And I was with Kevin Q and people who grew up here, Jimmy Gestapo, a lot of people had went through. I'm like, dude, coming from Israel, don't make me a hero. You guys went through more shit than me in the '80s. It just wasn't newsworthy. But you get the whole how that worked down and how it went, especially with, again, I met Polito, I met all the guys. We had long conversations of,
Yeah, Tony Polito. Yeah.
yep,
He's an old school legend.
dude, I was just in Paris convention hanging out with Mark Mahoney. Same shit. And I
Yeah.
was like,
No legend. Yeah.
remember when we started? We were criminals. There wasn't a joke. Maybe not murderers, but we definitely were on the wrong side of the fence. I started tattooing for 2 years, 3 years. All I was getting asked, like, when are you getting a real job?
I've
Or
been asked that
are you,
too. Yeah, my
are
parents did ask me that. And they're like I told them I got in like a magazine for my art. They're like, "Oh, so you gonna get a real job now?"
yeah, straight up. Nowadays, people is a real job. And again, I can't be the asshole to tell you my opinion, somebody's opinion. We should have stopped in a good faith after we tried for years to tell people we're not criminals, but we didn't. So now we ended up on TV. It is what it is, but same way I tell people I got my first tattoo by a biker, they're like, a biker? Why did you go to a biker? I'm like, who the fuck else was doing it? What are you talking? I'm like, do you think this was a choice? At least I got a tattoo for my money instead of just getting beat
Was
up
he
or
doing it
whatever.
in the back of a barber shop?
The back of anything.
Like a barber shop or a clothing store. Like I remember when they got legalized, and like there were a lot of tattoo parlors that are there, and they just put the sign up on the window after they got legalized. And like
Yeah.
there are some people that opened up a shop in the back of like a store that sold leathers or whatever, and other shops were like trying to like fight them, so they have people handing out flyers to say real shops don't sell leather. You know.
Oh, dude, I went tattooed. I went to my first convention in Dunstable in England in '95. So I go and get tattooed by Bugs. And he's in Camden Market. And basically, what we have in St. Marcy, right? Like selling sunglasses and just about every fucking hot topic without being a hot topic. And there's a little sign, handmade. Like my boss was like, listen, there's going to be a little sign, handmade, right around the MTV building. And they'll say Bugs on the floor. And then you go up the stairs. It was not paraded to anyone that that's what we're doing there. Um, and yeah, some people like to call it the good old days. Dude, everything I think it's good and bad. I'm okay with us being recognized the same way that I just started making weed now and I can legally tell them I sell marijuana. It's the progress from what we started or the shit that we did some art show to shut those people up and be like, am I an artist now? Are we cool? So we
Well,
progress.
it's kind of weird. It's like I went to art school, and I remember like if you made any money off your art, you were suddenly demoted from being a serious artist to being just an illustrator. So
You need start.
like
Yeah.
Frank
Target art.
Frazetta or H.R. Geiger. Like H.R. Geiger was like a famous artist in Europe for years, and then Ridley Scott used it for the movie Alien. Like he
Yep.
used his designs.
That's what
Geiger
did it.
Geiger didn't even really do something specifically for aliens. He just said, "Yeah, you can use my shit." And then suddenly they demoted him. It's like they're such fucking snobs. But now, if you do like something rebellious, like tattoos, oh, you're an artist.
Yeah, no, we were not considered artists for the longest time. Which is again what I try to tell so many people. Like, dude, I'm friends with people like Freddie Negretti. I'm friends with people like, do you understand that none of this my whole life and career, whatever the fuck I want to call it, in the last 30 years, did not exist
Right.
until guys took it out of prison and brought it out.
Yeah, I
You
talk
know,
to people about like the bucket of blood or like, testing the sharpness of the needle in your hand. Like all the old school people have like little dots on their hand from testing the needle. And they're like,
it's all this.
really? I'm like, dude, you have no clue.
Dude, it's the same way, like you said, horror movies. It's the same way, like the fuck Savini of them saying how they're like, they came to the set and like, oh, we know how to make fake blood. And everybody stared at them like, really? What is the big secret, right? Did that too. And I remember, was it Dino Cook? First time I met her was like 97 or 98 in Richmond Convention. We're hanging out. My friend Joel was there from Miami, and he's originally from Atlanta. After a whole weekend, and Dino's a big pothead. I don't know if anymore, but he should be. So no matter how satanic I was, we got along. And after the weekend, he goes to Joel, and he's like, dude, I got to tell you something. When you guys took me to work in your shop, and I watched you make the Magnum, and I was quiet as if I knew what you were doing. I have no idea, and I stared behind you and learned how to make it. Like, ooh, what is this magic needle?
What, the mag?
The mag, yeah. I started with flats too,
Yeah, the guy who
but
apprenticed me only knew flats. He didn't even know what
it,
mags were.
we had a thing called the grinder. He put like a 6 flat on a 7 flat, dude. I tore up some people with that in the beginning.
We
I
used to
did.
do
I
the thing with like the loose needles and the razor blade, and you like separate them like
use
this.
art.
You
That's
make
not
them
even
on
that.
a needle jig, and then yeah.
See this? That's Law Hardy. Nice. Nice of the round shader. That's what we did. The first 3 years was single and a 7 round.
I
No matter
started.
what.
I started with three liner was what I learned with. Like that's
I was
when
in Europe. We did single. It's the same shit, dude. You use a
yeah.
three, it's table. But no, it was the same. And dude, again, I went in '95 to that show. Did a backpiece from Shotzi, the fucking flying ace. That guy was there.
Oh, I know exactly who Shotzi is. Yeah,
There was back pieces from fucking Bernie Luther, full back piece, all Giger shit,
yeah.
all dumb. This is good, unbelievable, right? Stuff that you're like, I was out there for 8 months. I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, I had no grasp in my head. How is this physically possible to do a whole back with one needle? Jack Rudy can do it, like a goddamn guy sitting on the mountains. It's like it's a whole different ball game.
Well,
But
there's some people that can just do anything.
it is, and again, dude, we've built the pyramids. I'm pretty sure we can draw and skate. I like people are like, oh, it's this and talent. I'm like, not on my end, dude. It's called practice. When you guys went out, I was at home getting high drawing. That's really all it is to it, and I still do it. So,
Well,
yeah,
I do think it's like talent a little bit, but it's also a lot of like hard fucking work. I
depends.
think that's what not sound like an old man, but that's like what this generation doesn't understand. It's like it's not that
Because
you're born a fucking tattoo artist. It's like you have some skill, but in order to do anything with that skill, you have to fucking practice your ass off.
yeah, because in my opinion, they cut a lot of corners. Look, I looked up to people the same thing like Chinese or Russians when we grew up, and we're like, how they're fucking such great athletes. Well, you hate hearing it, buddy, but because their kids are trained from day one. I
Right.
just watched still skate a little bit. I skated for many years. My first tattoo is Mike Vallely, Palo Peralta. I just watched a new documentary about Bones Brigade and the skating in the 80s, dude. They were kids. They were all kids. And if it's embedded in you in a specific way, real talent, dude, Robert Hernandez, that's real talent. But again,
Oh,
this
he's
guy,
awesome. He's one of my favorites. Yeah.
he went to art school in Poland. And I'm sorry, Soviet Poland, da 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 da. The way they taught him, Boris Vallejo said it years ago. Our schools, you drew a perfect figure, they trash your drawing and be like, where's the veins? You know what I mean?
Right.
They push you the extra mile there. You see the Eastern Europeans that brought you the extreme realistic stuff, dude. It's a different frame of mind and not for lovely reasons here. If you're going to grow up with a lollipop in your mouth, I'm sorry to tell you, we're animals. We don't learn that way.
Yeah.
Um, so I see people the way they are. Same thing with Sean Barber, dude. You come with so much art inside of you. Of course, you can tattoo. I think nowadays they cut corners in the name of whatever. I specialize in this. I specialize in a lot of things, dude. Who gives a fuck? Every style
Well,
has.
Sean Barber actually he got an apprenticeship from from Kim who is old school, who knows what the fuck she's doing. So like he learned the
Yeah.
right way.
Well, he was already covered with work by Mike Wills. Not Mike Wilson, Mike Davis in Santa Cruz, in San Francisco. So that's his crew, all the San Francisco, all the way to fucking Grimy, right? He knew those guys. He got tattooed by them, so he was 1 foot in. But I think a lot of people now kind of focus too hard, too quick on what they specialize in. I do black work. I'm like, you do outline, dude. That's the first thing we learn how to do. You do outline. A lot of it outline, nevertheless. I'm sorry to break your balls.
I think
So
what sort of quick side note, I love what Grimy said to like Ink Master asked him to be on it and he wrote it back. He's like, go fuck yourself.
yeah, dude, Roman, the best master. I've said no to them for a few years, and not for nothing, dude. I
Yeah.
probably wish I could have said yes. I don't know what to tell you anymore. I can use the work. Roman went there once, and
Ruben
he did.
Abrego.
Yep, he did one episode. Then he sat with them and be like, "I have
Oh,
one
yeah,
important
I remember that. I think it was Best Sync though,
job.
right?
Fuck you," and you went
Yeah,
home.
yeah. 'Cause they wouldn't let him contact his family or whatever. He was like supposed to
Oh,
be isolated.
I will literally sign with them tomorrow because it's all made up, anyways, as we all know. I will sign with them ahead of time as long as they know I'm about to break their balls 2 episodes in. I will gladly come in the asshole that left you. Yeah, as long as we do this, then we're all in the clear. But
Yeah.
I can't. But I do. Those are the people who fucking get comped for the convention nowadays instead of me and you. So I must be doing something
Well,
wrong. I don't even.
not anymore. I mean, I remember when I go to convention, it'd be like a whole line of those fucking people, like people that were like voted out after like the second
Yeah, you can
period.
be
And
a guy. You can be the guy who did episode 17,000 for 1.5 episode in
yeah,
whatever show. This is your take nowadays. It's basically like, oh, I have 1 million followers on the internet. That's basically how that works.
yeah,
Nothing.
no, you're right. Yeah, and I remember like that first episode. Like I forget who got a hold of me. It was like I think it was Kim. It was like some lady who was like their rep, whatever. And originally they were gonna do it like in Montauk, and they weren't gonna pay you anything. And they're like, oh, but you get all this publicity and stuff. And then, but I didn't do it because they told me like, oh, our credentials are we did the real world. I was like, yeah, get the fuck out of here,
Oh, yeah.
But a bunch of people that I know did it, and like that first season, and they all have horrible things to say about it. So I was like, fuck you.
The fact that they made someone like Dave Navarro that doesn't have a single good death a judge should tell you everything about it.
Well,
Like, I
I
also
like how he's like, I've been getting tattooed more than, longer than most of you have been tattooing. It's like, you've been getting bad tattoos.
did. My friend works for EMI. She ran a tour with him. She called me one day if I can tattoo him. I was out of town. I'm like, can tattoo him in a few days. That was before the show started. But Senor couldn't wait. So I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, dude. I'm busy. I'm so glad I never got to tattoo him. He would have had one nice tattoo, but the 27 era. But hey, this is what it is, and this is how it is. You're the guy on TV, dude. People like Ami, all these people, they're always been my friends. I was with Paul when we pitched the original reality show and went through, and then MTV fucking missed the bus. But we
Yeah,
were supposed
I
to.
remember hearing something about that, like hearing a rumor or something
We
about
were
that.
literally supposed to replace the Osbournes. It's right when the Osbournes left. We went with a bunch of channels. We didn't want MTV. MTV came knocking on the door. They put $500,000 on the fucking pilot. Everything went through. May you never. You know what? For Paul's sake, as much as it's been a shit show since we left, for his sake and his name, may none of you ever see how cheesy that shit was and how low he was. But it was what it was, and it didn't go through. And before you know, there was Miami Ink. Now, after they got the idea for it, they did go shop around for a lot of shops that matter, the names. We all told them fuck off. They wanted the bimbo in the chair. There was a guy in Miami Ink that told somebody that he lost his sister in 9/11. He did to cancer. He happened to be, but they're like, okay, we're gonna say she died in the
It's kind
building.
of
So
like the COVID thing. Like you got a car, but you had COVID. You died of COVID.
This is TV, and I'm too old to argue with it. So fuck it. I make videos to nobody, but at least I know my tattoos look in real life. I don't know. Beyond that and taking care of your clients, it is what it is. Again, I look up to people like Tintin, dude. That guy knows how to ride the wave. From the days he was illegal to the days on TV to what he does now, there's a way to do it, which is why I told you when you asked me with a video last time. I can't be the older guy and be angry, dude. The world changes in one way or another. I try to just take care of fucking focus on what's important, which always was my clients, my work, not who I'm better at. You know what I mean? How the world works, dude. You live in a Kardashian world. Are you really surprised? Like, people know more about Kardashian than the fucking Queen of England. Are you really
I know.
surprised? Shallow
Like,
world. That's
it's
what
like,
we get.
how did those people get that rich? Of all the people to get rich, they did fucking nothing. In fact, they
Because there's
brought
a lot.
down the culture.
Yeah, just like drugs, enable people are enablers. Dude, I've seen people do those miniature tattoos now. I just talked to Jeremiah a year ago on his podcast about it. You've been here longer than me in the city, dude. It happens the same thing that happened in Neil Gupta's tattoo. It's gone to shit. You know how much those things are? 5 to 8 grand a day.
Well, have you seen
So,
what Bang Bang charges? Like Bang Bang will do like a tattoo like this big, and they'll charge you like $1,500 for it.
you mean Mr. Magic Hank? Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
they tattooed Rihanna, so it's like a whole like oh, we tattooed Rihanna, so we're a big fucking deal. So
you know, in 29 years of tattoos, in the whole tattoo world, which we made an industry, there's about 5 people tops that I have an issue with. Bang Bang is on top of that list. So don't even start the podcast by mentioning that fucker. Fuck him. And whoever stupid enough to get it, they deserve it. That's what I mean. If people want to enable it, I was talking to my boys when Miami Ink was up and running, right? They're banging tattoos for insane price. But they're not stupid. They're old school tattooists. They knew, they go, Leor, we stand on the two different spectrum of tattoos. People come to you for your art. People come to us for the picture. It is what it is. I
that
can't
is
deny
also true. Like
it. On this on
somebody
TV.
posted a bunch of those micro tattoos on hand, and Carlos Torres responded. He's like, "Oh, that'll be easy cover up when that fade or when that
That's not
fade."
cover up. That's like a
Yeah,
little in my paper, dude. Nothing. But that's what I mean. I'm like, dude, I could have gave you like after 29 years, I still could have gave you a half sleeve for that price. But you do you. I can't argue with it. If you want your Gucci and it's worth it to you, the problem is it's not Gucci. This is like the Gucci spot. You went to Bang Bang, you might as well go to Canal and get the other Gucci, dude. That's the funny thing to me about all this. You go to a convention, you see shit. Like I said, dude, I've been in New York since '99. I've seen in Neil Gupta's tattoos. What happened to them? Exactly what I thought would happen to them. As
yeah.
simple as that's your medium. This is you're not a freaking magician. It's not up to you.
And I've had people come, they had issues with the Neil. Like, I'm not gonna like talk shit about people, but I've had people that had issues with him, so they came in. I worked on them. You know,
I have no, you know what? I used to have a lot more issues. You work as long as me. At one point or another in my life or career, I go full circle on this, which is why I have no issues here. Because, like I said, dude, in the world that you made Kim Kardashian a multimillionaire, and I'm sorry, Kim, for keep bringing you, but she is like the Metallica examples now for that. Um, I can't argue with society here, right? I'm not the one to let them to it or not. I might be responsible just like you for not doing enough to stop it, but this is where we're at.
I don't know if you can stop the train. Like when the train starts
The
running,
reality of it, I can do my best. I was just talking was it Pat Sinatra, just quick tattooing. So like, you know what, Pat, you and other people are always on my tongue when I speak to people. It's the least I can do to remind people what I know, where it came from, even though a lot of them don't even give a fuck nowadays. That's really all I can do. Beyond this, I cannot afford anymore to sit here like an old person and be angry at the world. There's a way to flow with it. As long as you do what you do, again, you have your people, you take care of them like we always did. That's really all we can do at this point. There's a million new artists that are phenomenal. Who knows if they'll be here in 3 years?
right. Well,
You know, it's
and
like,
some of them they just do the awesome piece for Instagram, and then like a week later, you're like, where did that piece go?
oh, they all go, dude. I still, I still tour heavily. I work with people here, like I told you. I work at Stefano's. I work at Ink for a little bit. I work with Yomiko. I'm with Hustler now. I work with enough people that matter, or enough big names, small names. I do conventions, blah blah blah. Still, so I get to hear it firsthand how that's really portrayed, even in Akron, Ohio. You know, it doesn't matter. Wherever the fuck I go, there's always somebody there like this. Make a big hype for it. Um, there's a way to play it. There's a way those people did it, or one way or another. You know, I can't argue with it because this is where we're at. But that doesn't mean, the days of tattoo magazines having good tattoos are gone. They're like, oh my, we literally, considering Inked and other magazines, or the two and a half that's left, we fought so hard. You're welcome, ladies, for getting the hot girl with a shitty tattoo off the cover of the magazine and parade real art. Well, check it out.
With the
When
tramp stamp and like the fake boobs and like button
you
implants and
and you suck the right judge, you also got first place. It used to be a way, and they went on both ends, so nobody get offended here. Girls did it too. Um,
I
that
remember a convention where the Suicide Girls were the judges of Tattoo of the Day, and the only people winning were what they thought were hot guys. And like we were like I was sharing a booth with what's his fucking name? The he's a Korean guy. He owned part of Tat Soul. Phil Spearman, and I was sharing a booth with him, and I remember like he did this like big complicated piece. I did this piece, and a piece of trash one. Like I don't mind if you beat me if you did a better piece, but this piece of trash one, but it's on like a young, cute guy. And I remember like the Suicide Girls walking by and like it felt like looks like he's all like kind of upset about it. She's like, "Oh, don't worry, yours is good. This is just better." So everybody fucking went and complained, and like that last day, it was all tattoo artists doing the judging.
it is what it is. But again, we went 2030. Anything else in the name of progression, we're going backwards. So here we are 3 years later with the hot girl on the fucking cover with a tattoo that every tattoo artist know will never gonna last. This is what we do again. This is just how we are. Yeah, no, it is what it is, but no, competition, like you said, that definitely used to be like that. All of it. Trophies are nice for your parents, like when you're a kid. My trophy is my clients coming back to get tattooed.
Yeah.
The only trophy I've ever thrived for, right? Is like, but no, what you said with the competitions, dude, once they start doing color tattoos, the color, like, and you've seen Benjamin do it, you've seen Tintin and the French guys do it, even in the 90s. But once that became big, I just stopped going to competitions because I do black and gray. It's just physically impossible that my piece will impress you nearly as much as even the shittiest fucking attempt at realistic color.
Yeah, and I think we all know that black and gray holds up way better over time than in
You
color.
know, that was just a little video with what's his name? For fuck's sake. With Charlie, old time Charlie, and he said just that. He's all in black and white tattoos from like back in the day, and he's like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Black and gray lasts. It's like that. This from the '60s, the '70s. Like, yeah, that just doesn't go anywhere.
Well, I remember I was doing color portraits when I first started out, and I think I was one of the first guys doing it. I don't remember too many people doing it, but like I came from art school, so I was like, oh, I paint in color, I'll tattoo in color. Those do not hold up. And I remember Joe Cap saying something to me. He's like, it looks good now, but I don't know about 5 years from now. And like, being like a snotty little punk rocker, I was like, yeah, fuck you. But 5 years later, it looked like fucking crap. So
They
he was right. It's like it,
100% of the artists that did it 20, 30 years ago stopped. Do you remember that Shining piece that Benjamin did in early 2000? It
yeah,
was
yeah,
on point, right?
yeah.
Dude, girl from Seattle went on one vacation to the Bahamas, and she came back with like literally 2 scratches left on her skin. The whole thing was like, color, like skin tones and all that. The whole thing left. It was like, holy crap, I've never seen a tattoo disappear so quick. That was it. Literally a weekend in the Bahamas killed that tattoo. I was like, okay.
I have four pieces by Benjamin Moss, but they're all black and gray, and they all hit up
Uh,
great. But
it's I've been around enough for the color artists. I don't do nearly enough color as I would like, but I just don't. I've seen again, dude. I have color pieces on me too. You just see it in front of your eyes. It is what it is. And unlike again, a lot of young people should start paying a little more attention to what a few older people tell them because they're not trying to be dicks. They're telling you something that they have physically seen on their own skin and from their own work. And there's a trick and a way to do it still. But
yeah,
if you're
no,
not,
I totally
oh,
agree.
it's I think again that's what I meant earlier by people jump the gun. Look, dude, you can do whatever and you can specialize in whatever you want, but you got to learn the rules in order to know what and how to break them correct. You want to make fancy chairs and thrones, that's lovely, but you still have to learn how to build a regular chair first, and they skip it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't really need this information. I'm like, dude, every information will come in handy. From me sitting in Miami for 2 years, being taught how to do Americana by Mike Wilson and Chris Garver and all these guys and Japanese, I can still draw it because we're tattoo artists. It all comes into my work later on. So it is what it is. I think a lot of it is the only thing they're lacking. And not for nothing, dude. People even like Nico Hurtado, Carlos Torres, all these people, from the first day I met them, they still fucking listen to me because I'm an older generation. You know, none of them were stupid, which is why they're so good now. You know what I mean? None of them try to jump any gun, and they are that talented, but they
oh
didn't
yeah,
fucking.
Carlos Torres does some of the best black and gray I've seen, and Nick
Dude, that
Hurtado is one of the few guys who does like a color portrait that you know is going to stay. Like he
because
does it a little bit simpler, very high contrast, a couple of different layers to pack in the skin. You're like, dude, that's gonna fucking be there.
he Americanized it. He took the way I see it with like Nico. It's almost like you took that European again, dude. I toured for years, way before I became big. I saw those pieces in Eastern Europe because they are that white and they can work for $10 an hour, so they can put 1,000,000 hours into it, and they are that talented. But it's still fine line, and there's still some stuff they'll change there in what you're doing. Nika put the bolder line just with color into it, right? He put a little touch to it. He simplified it just enough to still, which in my opinion is the biggest thing in tattooing, right? Is your bag of tricks. You can make a piece of art look amazing, but know that you executed that in such an amazing way that it's true to the art, but it's going to hold as the medium of tattoos. And I think that's what really Nico brings to the table there. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, you have the right attitude there.
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely. All
nice.
right, man. So what I think let's go over to horror for a minute. So have you always been into like kind of a darker tone? Because I always remember you kind
Yeah,
of doing darker stuff.
yes. You know what? When I started working with Paul in early 2000, he wrote something which some people made fun of me, and he said, Liocifer is here to keep the eternal hellfire burning. He was correct, and that's still in me. Like I told you earlier, I mean, in hindsight, when I started writing about some shit and look back at my life, growing up in Israel didn't help. Being to a few explosions and living in a specific way didn't really help. So I was attracted to all sorts of fucked up shit from a younger age. I still have night terror. I used to have nightmares when I was a kid. My mom didn't let me watch Michael Jackson's Thriller. I must have been 7 because she was afraid it'll give me nightmares, which till this very day I remember this. But no, it was in me to some extent. After that, dude, I've been a metalhead since I'm 11. I used to have a room full of Iron Maiden posters. Didn't know it was a band. Then my brother's friend asked which album, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So he gave me
They're the
Killer.
best fucking posters though. Like all those ones that Eddie was like, you know,
Yeah, talk about a fucking nice mascot, right? Like that
oh
guy.
yeah.
But yeah, no. So I was into metal from a young age, and that went quick from Maiden to DSI. That went off the fucking rails quick. I used to skate for many years, day and night. I still skate a little bit now. So I think I was always attracted a little bit more to the outcast type deal. I had long hair since I was younger, all that shit. And yeah, tattoos came as a part of the territory. I started loving it at 10 or 11. At 15, I got my first one. But yeah, no, as far as I can think, again, even skate friends and shit, I was a really young age and being exposed to all sorts of shit. First sci-fi I ever watched was The Alien, so that's that. But yeah, anything, dude, like Hellraiser, fucking the original Evil Dead, some of those movies, then later on the Italian guys.
I'm a big Evil Dead fan.
Oh, I cannot, dude. I'm shocked about the last one. Speaking of, I really wanted
That
to
that
hate.
was actually pretty good. Evil
I
Dead
really
Rising.
hate it. I know, but I was like, dude, you guys did a good job there. You took
Yeah,
it in.
no, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few of them that really made it for me. And again, you think in hindsight of what and how we grew up. Yeah, no, it was always horror oriented. I still meet people, not even nowadays, even years ago, if I go back to Israel and they're like, you still draw evil stuff? I'm like, yeah, I made a career out of it. They're like, really? Still listen to that music? I'm like, yeah, those bands are my friends now. They're like, well, my
Yeah.
young brother would love you. I'm like, you're a young brother? What? You grew out of it? It's got worse and worse with the years. And at this point in my 40s, I'm totally regressing. So it's, back to now teenage shit. And dude, Pantera, all these bands are coming back. So,
Yeah. Well, in part at least, like two of the people from Pantera are dead, but the other two members, they're touring with, like fill in, and they're basically doing the same stuff. I
it's
I
good.
I, I think the vocalist is like the biggest thing because that really creates the sound.
Exactly. And that's what I keep telling people. I'm like, so, and look, I've missed Pantera for years. I was fortunate enough to see them 3 nights in a row. Got the lemonade and all when I worked for Paul on the last tour. I understand what everybody says. Again, like I told you, I'm not even making an argument about it. That being said, dude, let's be realistic. Every schmuck in the world went to every show of anyone on Phil Anselmo's band in the last 20 years in the hope that he does one Pantera song. Right? It's the same
Some of
thing.
his bands are fucking great though. Like Down's amazing.
They're all amazing, but you know what I mean? When people look,
Super Joint Ritual, I like that.
Super John was amazing, actually. And Super John was a Super John Ritual on their bus, dude. Those guys smoked so much weed. It was awesome. They came to town once right after they did an interview with High Times. That was a lovely, lovely weekend. But as far as I'm concerned, exactly, all these Albert did this a few years ago. Oliver, and he did a thing online of playing guitar and be like, I don't even know what the fuck he's doing. Dude, that's the thing those people bring to the table. I saw the Cavalera brothers doing Sepultura. The other singer is great, but you're
Oh, is
not
it?
back. This
Yeah,
is
he's not. I saw them on the
Max,
KSID tour.
Max and all these
KSID
guys.
Helmet with on Meantime and Ministry on Psalm 69. The all three bands were together. They're like all line up. They're awesome.
But that's what I mean, exactly what you said. What this guy brings to the table, dude, his voice is unreplaceable.
Yeah.
The tunes, there's a lot of great musicians that can play it by now if they wanted to. His voice is what makes it real more than anything. We saw a show last year of the original guitar player of Megadeth. It did not sound like Megadeth without Dave Mustaine. It's just, you know what I mean? You're missing your main instrument. So it is what it is. But yeah, no, I'll take it. I don't care.
Yeah. All
They're
right.
on though.
I don't want to keep you here all day. But before we go, why don't you give me a couple recommendations, like people should check out, like band wise or movie wise or anything like that.
That's a rough question. Movie wise, I'm running out of shit because you know as well as I do, most movies suck nowadays. That being said,
It's true. It's true, but
the
occasionally something pops
new,
up.
the new Dune is on in 2 weeks, and I heard it's a brutal one, so I will go see it on edibles in the theater.
What is it?
The new Dune?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I loved I even like the David Lynch version of Dune, but I love the novel.
I love the original version. You know what? It took the new version for me to understand what whatever his name, the director, put into that first one, right? How much of himself he put into
David
it.
Lynch, yeah.
Yup. And again, as an artist, dude, I understand that. I read the novel too. I think if you like the novel, you like the new one. It's got a lot more of the true story. But dude, I'm a horror guy. I don't give a fuck about your story. I don't need some visuals. Um, yeah, new bands. I don't even know what the fuck is new bands, dude. I keep going to shows all the time. A lot of my favorite band, like Trail Dama's Religion, releasing like new shit. A bunch of other bands from. I'm still black metal through and through. And that's usually my go-to. That's about it.
Yeah, I
And
feel old because like I'm like none of these bands like live up to like Bolt Thor or Malevolent Creation or like any of those bands I like. It's like nobody does that shit anymore.
I start tattooing Tucker. They're doing a new album, Morbid Angel. They're still kicking it. There's
Well,
talks about
they were
and
one way for a long time. They did that one album that was like kind of like industrial or techno or whatever.
yeah, they tried too hard. I met the guy, Seagrave. I met the artist. They did the Altar of Madness. He had a show in Inferno a few years in Norway. I was hanging out with him all weekend. It was hilarious because I get a sign print, and I'm like, dude, you're the man. And the whole weekend, I ripped him on the headache that he gave us tattoo artists for trying to fucking do that as a tattoo. I'm like, everybody wants to tattoo since I'm 15, and it makes a shitty tattoo in no matter version you're doing it. So, yeah.
Well, I think non-tattoo artists don't even know what like makes a good tattoo. They're like, "Oh, I like that." And you're like, "Yeah, but you want it fucking, Cracker Jack size." They're like,
But
dude,
it's what
you,
I mean. It's like a white outline done on a black circle. That works
yeah,
great for the album. None of the version of it look either it's not gonna look like it or just doing heads morphing. I can do that all day. That means
yeah.
nothing. But it's like that's why it was funny. I'm like, I had to get a little friendlier with him so he doesn't take it personally. I'm like, dude, I love you. That being said, Paul designed the Sepultura logo, which is why it's so tattooable.
Right.
I'm like
That
all
does
these
make sense. Yeah.
when I found out, I'm like, oh, now I understand why it's so nice and bony and semi-tribally. It's like fucking, this is how you make it tattooable. So yeah,
Right.
it worked for what it is. But yeah, no, I'm still just tattooing. I'm back in New York. I've been in Europe for a few years, so I'm back in New York full time now. Working hustler, working on my own weed finally after all these years, high as hell, making satanic weed. Because we used
Uh,
to call it devil's lettuce, and I never got weed with a pentagram on it, and I smoked for 30 years, so I'm making my own.
was it? They call it the Devil's Lettuce, and they call it something else. I forget what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure they have a whole
Started.
field of names for it.
I just started my shit, high as hell weed, and we done money back. I gave him so much money throughout the years. It'll be nice to even get some free weed. But yeah, no, I've been doing this, trying to work on my book after all these years, and same shit, just grinding a shit, making art, making whatever the
what's
fuck.
your book gonna be called?
What is it?
What's your book gonna be called? What's the title?
Lucifer, I did it my way. Yeah, the life of a nomad satanic tattoo artist. You know how it is. We all being told for years you should write a book because the way we live our life. And I was like, fuck it, I have time, so I go ahead and write it. I really care. Like I said, it's not really a matter of even money. It's really cathartic, really, really cathartic to write it and almost go back to whatever you remember of the detail, just like what you just asked me. And it's not the same old question with the same old answer we gave to a million magazines of this is how I started. Da, 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 da. But it makes you off in thinking in other ways. I mean, you right, you know how that works.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm on my fifth novel, but I haven't written a biography. They're all like fictional, like
uh,
apocalyptic, sci-fi, horror sort of stuff. And people ask me all the time, they're like, "Oh, is this one about you?" I'm like, "No, dude. This is about something else."
not for nothing. And again, what we said earlier, how shit sells now. Tell them yes. Tell them yes. Like from this planet, make up a fucking thing, dude. I was at Alex Gray the other day. They invented a language. Who gives a fuck? Be like, yes, I'm an alien. And worst come to worst, you can be Scientology. So
It's
it's a
true, yeah. Like, yeah, trapped alien souls, giving people like all sorts of things like alcoholism. It totally fucking makes sense. Just
we
make up
gave people
shit.
the stuff. People I used to ask about the Hall in our ears, and we like, check it out. I went to this place. Once in a while, we had a crazy story. of how we went to space and came back with those thing in our ears. Hey, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I'm too old to argue. Fuck it. If it's good, make it sell even more. Make him argue. No PR is bad PR, right? So
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like Jonathan Shaw wrote a book, and I think that went nowhere. You know, like there were a couple people that
Jonathan,
wrote.
I could have told him ahead of time. I think Jonathan Shaw is the last person in the world that should have gone so serious and political with the amount of bullshit that comes behind him. He's a great guy, but at this point, there's only that much lies you can do, and nowadays you can't get away with it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Or the internet that worked. I have Google to double check your shit now. Like seriously, it's like I'm sorry to tell you, but Google didn't do good for whoever was full of shit. So it is what it
That's
is.
true. Yeah. So, all
Okay.
right, man.
Again,
So, thank you for doing this.
thanks for
How
having
can
me.
people find you? How can they get a hold of you? How can they give you money?
There is Liocifer.com. There is Liocifer underscore Infernum, if you can spell it, on Instagram. I'm everywhere, really. There is somebody that hacks my accounts that don't answer Donovan, but yeah, Liocifer Infernum is legit. And Liocifer.com, yeah, my website, that's still running.
Okay, I'll put up links on the screen so everybody can see it. All right. Do you have anything else that you want to add? Like anything you want people to know about?
Praise Satan.
All
Find people. Yeah,
right.
nah.
So,
Oh, what
good.
I have to think that go do your shit. If COVID didn't teach you this, then I will. Go fucking live your life. Like enough sitting at home and being like angry on your computer, making plans you're never gonna make. That's we're still here. We're still alive. We're still trying to make every fucking day counts. That's all you can do.
Yeah. That's great advice. And too many people don't do that and they expect stuff to be handed to them on a platter. It's like, go on and fucking do it yourself.
They
Make it
don't.
happen.
I was told so many times I'm lucky to be Paul Booth's apprentice. I grew up in Israel, motherfucker. I moved to Miami, moved to New York, and I still did so much for anything, and I still pay my dues. None of us got handed shit, and none of us got a knock on the fucking door. We're not that miraculous. So yes, go and do. You can at least fail, but at least know that you tried. For fuck's sake, you know what I mean? And
Well,
yes,
all the people who made it back in the day, they try like 4 or 5 different professions before they're like, okay, now I finally made it.
yeah, no, it's you live and learn. And again, it's easier said than done. And dude, we didn't listen in our 20s. So I don't expect 20-year-old to listen to us. Don't
Right.
get me wrong. But if the least, at least go and do it. At least don't fucking do it. 20-year-olds now, we go to convention, 20-year-old tell me they got to go and get their sleep because they got to work tomorrow when I still close the
I
bar.
know it. Remember when we all used to hang out? We go down to dinner. You hang out at the bar. It'd be like 2 or 3 in the morning. Bob Terrell was still doing shots.
Yeah, if you don't want to do this, stay at home. If at least stop, it's kind of like a straight edge thing. You don't have to do one thing or another. You also don't have to stand against it. You do right. It's like the masks and everything else we did in COVID. Yeah, we could respect one side, the other side never respect the other one. I'm like, dude, it's a two-way road. Seriously. So you do
Yeah.
whatever's good for you, but learn to understand that some people will not agree with you, and there's no reason to get offended about it. This is just how it works, and you can move along. There's plenty of us.
Yeah, no,
So
that's the way the world should be.
should be, yeah. That's never gonna happen, but hey, whatever.
All
I said,
right, man. Well, like I said, thank you for doing this. Thanks for talking with me.